don't even understand how the fuck my punk talk. Won't pick him up in a space coupe. I don't let my pug walk. Skirt, pull up in a space. New freak, had to cut my other little bitch off. 50K, you could come and book a cracker for a plug walk. Big ol' Bentley, it's a spaceship. Call me on my phone, I don't say shit.
Hey guys, this is going to be a build video for the gameplay footage I recently put on my channel of my Solstice subclass Necro PvP bow build. You can see the stats here. Go ahead and screenshot this or pause the video if you need to. I'm horrible with build videos, so I'm sorry if I leave anything out or you have any questions. Please leave a comment down below. I'm going to do my best. On the back bar, we get up to 29k resistances. It's about 26k on the front bar. I know the recoveries look low here. They're actually honestly not that bad. It's going to work out. And there's going to be a flex option if you're doing BGs or something with low sustain. We'll talk about that later. That's one of the sets. Shadow Mindus, it's going to be a crit build. So I run some Divines. You get up to 15% extra crit damage and healing. Good for survivability. I run Tools of Misrule on all my builds because I'm poor. And Vamp, honestly, guys, you don't need this. I used to run Vamp Stage 3 on most of my builds for the Undeath passive. After they nerfed it, I stopped running it. I just haven't cured my Vampirism yet. I haven't been playing. If you guys don't know, I just came back to the game like 10 months ago. So, full disclosure, there's going to be a crit build. We are running the new Mythic. We're running Major and Minor Force. Khajiit would probably be best in slot. I just ran out of crowns. So I'm an Orc, but Orc's actually kind of nice on this and kind of underrated. This heal's kind of nice. We also get some passive healing from Crit Surge. Both of these kind of help you stay offensive when you're on your front bar. And then this Swift Warrior is really what makes Orc shine, in my opinion. The increased weapon and spell damage, obviously, is going to increase your healing. On your back bar, it's going to increase your damage. But the reduced cost of Sprint really helps your stam recovery and sustain, and the increased speed really helps you kite. And I'll tell you guys, I really move around quickly on this build. I don't really have an issue kiting almost anyone. I'm the type of person I'll usually run 1 or 2 Swift on any build, whether I have Expedition or not, simply because I like to be able to outmaneuver my opponents and reset the fight and recast my buffs and get back into the action. I'm telling you, on this buff build, we have Major Expedition, Minor Expedition, and with the Orc movement speed, you don't have any issue kiting at all. That being said, Khajiit might be like 1A and Orc might be 1B, you know. I wouldn't really play... I mean, you could play any other race too, but I would say Orc and Khajiit are going to be your best options. I don't even have my bow line leveled up yet. Someone joked on my last video in one of my Discords, they're like, man's out here slaughtering people, just casually leveling up his bow, and it's kind of true. I got bored doing dungeons and stuff like that to level skill lines, so I was out. For our subclass skill lines, we're running Storm Calling, Aedric Spear, and Gravelord. For Capacitor here, Sustain's just really nice for any build. This is just a nice little staple amount of recovery. For Energized, I don't think I fully take advantage of this, and if you guys have any suggestions of things I can add to the build, I'm running a shock glyph on my bow. I was thinking about trying out a set with physical or shock damage, and there's actually a flex option where you run Mage's Wrath on this, which is going to be shock damage as well. But yeah, we don't really take advantage of this passive as much as we could. Amplitude is probably my favorite passive on this skill line, because the more health they have, the more damage you're going to do. 10% when they're at full health, 9% when they're at 90%, 8% extra damage when they're at 80%, etc., etc. This is nice because the better players tend to keep their health up, right? Like, your good players tend to heal, they tend to recast their buffs. So this is the squishy players you don't need help killing. Also with cross healing. So, and then this boost your weapon and spell damage for abilities that are slotted. We mainly slot the abilities on our back bar to boost our healing, but it's nice for both of our bars. Honestly, it's just a strong passive. Aedric Spear, we're getting the crit damage. Once again, there's a crit build, so we get the Major, Minor Force, the crit Mythic. This is just nice. The damage against blocking targets is clutch too. I haven't seen many block tanks this patch, but I'm sure they're out there with the new subclassing. We already have Minor Berserk from the Mythic, but the Minor Protection's nice. Every time you use your spear, you're going to get a little defensive bonus, so it's nice if you have a lot of people on you and you're just trying to spear them off you really quick to gain some space. Burning Light, this just got buffed. We actually have a couple dots we run on this build, so this will be proccing more than you'd think. Because Snipe and Blast Bones are kind of slow, but there's a couple dots in here, and we'll explain those later. Balanced Warrior. This is just going to help you survive a little bit, do a little bit more damage. All in all, just these are like really well-rounded, good passives in here. Gravelord. This first one mostly just makes your Blast Bones economical to recast, and that's going to be one of the reasons we can run low sustain on this build. This one right here is super strong. That's why we don't need to run an execute. We normally sit at about 36% crit chance, and we run a lot of crit damage. So when they get to low health, it's going to go up to like 69 or 70% crit chance. So it's basically like going to be an execute for you. But that combined with Amplitude, so Amplitude, you're going to do more damage when they're at high health, and then when they start to get lower, that Gravelord passive, I think it's called Death Knell, kicks in, and you're going to be critting like crazy when they're at low health. So the combination of these two, I like just how they synergize so well, like you're getting a boost whether they have high health or low. This would also be good for a bomber, honestly. I've been thinking about doing a bomber with Necro, Gravelord, and Stormcalling. Dismember is going to give you a lot of pen. This is more than 2 lines. I think a line of pen is 1470. And then Rapid Rot. We actually run a surprising amount of dots on this build, even though it's not a dot build. Like our armor buff gives off damage over time. One of the options for Savagery and Prophecy that we run gives off a damage over time. Elemental Susceptibility puts Burning status effect on them, which has a damage over time. And our Snipe ability puts on the Poison status effect, which has a damage over time, and our Meteor is a damage. So that's 5 different damage over times that we have that are all going to be buffed up by that passive. So even though it's not a dot build, we have a surprising amount of dot pressure. So these are our skills in our front bar here. Javelin's going to be your main CC, and this is really, I would say, crucial. Necro never had access to a stun before. So I was playing Blast Bones and Comet on my range crow, but now that you have the Javelin just to stun it into the Blast Bone Meteor damage, it's huge damage. I've seen my Blast Bones crit for 15k and my Meteor crit for like 18, 19k. That's like 35k damage if they both crit. So this is our armor buff. It's going to do a small damage over time. It's going to give you Minor Expedition. You're going to run fast. So Siphon here is one of the flex options for your Prophecy. Mainly you would slot this for the recovery, like especially if you're in a battleground or something. The extra damage is really nice too, but it's not necessary because you do so much damage on this build. If you were in Imperial City or something, or you're fighting a lot of Nightblades, the Mage Light and the Fighters Guild 1 Camo Hunter are also options. The reason why I would lean towards Mage Light on this specific setup, you already get the Minor Berserk from Camo Hunter through the new Monoforged Mythic. So there is a passive in Fighters Guild that gives you like 3% extra weapon and spell damage, I think. But I don't know if it's worth slotting this just for that 3% weapon and spell damage, especially when the Siphon gives you 3% damage anyways, and a damage over time and recoveries. But Mage Light's good if you need to pull something out of stealth, or this also protects you from being stunned from stealth. So this would be probably the better option to run if you're like Imperial City, where there's like a bunch of gankers or something, or you just know you're fighting this same group in Cyrodiil over and over again that are all playing like Nightblade gankers. But the Siphon, if you don't need the remove from stealth, the Siphon's probably the best choice, just because it has a damage over time, it gives you recovery, and it gives you the damage buff. Lethal Arrow is going to be your main spammable. It has a little bit of a cast time. I think it's the most fun spammable in the game. It's going to be hard to use it when people are pillar humping, but it's going to put the poison status effect on them. Once again, that's a damage over time. They're going to get Minor Defile on them, going to make it hard for them to heal. And combine that with our next ability, which is Blast Bones, that puts Major Defile on them. So they're getting up to 18% reduction on their healing and their and their damage shield. So not only is it like a nice amount of delayed burst that you're going to get in here with the javelin, but you're also going to really hinder their healing. So when people get low, they're going to stay low. This meteor does a big chunk of initial damage. Like I said, I've seen it crit like 18, 19k, and then it also it leaves a spot in the area that slows their movement speed drastically, and it does a damage over time that actually ticks really hard every second, and most damage over time tick every 2 seconds. So this can be pretty nasty, the meteor. Race against time. I think everyone knows what this does. It does a lot. You get minor force. You get major expedition. You get a snare removal. Crit surge. This is our brutality buff. It's also going to heal us when we crit. So it helps us, you know, if you're fighting outnumbered and you get some crits, it'll help you stay in your front bar. This is everyone wants to heal over time in a pump heal on their build. This is the staple heal over time. This is going to be a flex spot. I like this when I'm playing solo, because especially at solo open world, you're going to breach people and put all those status effects on them. I currently have Druid's Resurgence on this and the Vitality one. I also messed around with the script that gives you ultimate back. That's good too. Overload's just here to boost up our passive healing. I think I've only used it like once to try to get a kill with it. I pretty much ignore it and forget it's there. So I have 216 extra weapon and spell damage. And if you run one of our flex options, which I'll show you here, you can actually get rid of elemental substability with the prevalence of animal companion skill line. If you're in like a battleground or something, chances are everyone on your team has like a warden, and so people are already going to be breached by the millions of beetles that are going to be around. So I would go ahead, throw on Hurricane, put that on your back bar, put Mage's Wrath on your front bar. Executes are also nice for battlegrounds because you can just run up to 2 people fighting each other, throw a Mage's Wrath on them, and like steal a bunch of kills. So if you're doing BGs, this might be the way to run it, honestly. And now you get extra passive healing on the back bar too. Or not passive healing, extra weapon and spell damage towards your healing. Or if you're playing in a small group where you know someone has breach, that's another situation where you could kind of flex these abilities around. I forget what we were talking about. I think we went over the skills already. So gear, might be surprised to see me running Swamp Raiders on the front here because it's kind of an old school set. I've used this on a lot of my bow builds. Like I had a Nightblade bow build ganker for a while that ran this. I like it for Necro because it basically, you get a line of crit, you get the line of stamina, you get the line of weapon and spell damage. All these things are going to be beneficial and helpful to the build. It's also a medium armor set, and we're running Rally Cry back bar. And you'll see all the offensive sets I run are medium because you want to have at least 4 or 5 medium on the build. This is going to boost your poison and disease damage by 600. You get 600 weapon and spell damage added to those abilities. So if you remember, our main spammable snipe is a poison ability, and Blast Bones, our main burst ability, is disease. It's not going to affect the comet damage. It's not going to affect javelin. It's not going to affect any other skill. So you would think that it wouldn't make sense to run this set, but I've even parsed on target dummies, and Swamp Raider was regularly one of the highest performing sets. It even outperformed sets like Order's Wrath in my testing. So even though Snipe and Blast Bones are only 2 of your abilities, they account for a lot of your damage, and the amount that Swamp Raiders boost them is crazy. Now, if you added Bow Ulti to this setup instead of the Meteor, the Bow Ultimate is poison damage as well. So it'd make even more sense to run Swamp Raiders as opposed to some of the other flex options. And we'll talk about the flex options later. There's like 5-6 different offensive sets you can run on the front bar. Rallying Cry is a staple for the back bar. The only reason I wouldn't run Rallying Cry is if you're in like a group over 12 people, you're not going to get enough damage from it. I would swap it out for Clever Alchemist or Powerful Assault or something else. Battle Orgs is going to be your monster set. It's going to help you nuke people. This is going to be good if you're going for group wipes or you need to kill a tank, but if you need more survivability, the flex monster set is going to be Engine Guardian. You can see I have 2 heavy, tri-stat reinforced. The rest are all going to have divines on them. The waste is light. The other 4 are all going to be medium. That should be tri-stat. I did not catch that. It's not super important. We're running divines on everything because we have Rallying Cry giving us the crit resist. I mostly play solo, so this doesn't even need to be Bloodthirsty. It was Bloodthirsty on my Nightblade. We get so much damage on this build from all the passives and so much execute critical that we don't really need the Bloodthirsty. Infused would give you more weapon and spell damage. This is the new mythic. Minor Berserk, Major Force front bar. You also get minor vulnerability debuff. Then back bar you get minor vitality and major protection. All in all, very nice. So all 3 of these could be infused. You don't really need the Bloodthirsty. Rallying Cry is a staple on the back bar. If you're running Rallying Cry on the back bar, though, because it's a light armor set, I would not run another light armor set on the front bar. These are sets I've tested. Plague Break's going to be good for nuking big groups. You can run Red Mountain for extra burst, and honestly, Red Mountain is what I put up in a lot of my clips. The downside of Red Mountain is you can't always control who it goes to. I think it goes to the closest target. So if you're fighting a lot of people or people are streaking around a lot, it might not always hit who you want it to hit, unfortunately. So if we look at Red Mountain and what it does, it's basically going to give us a little bit of burst damage when we use a weapon ability. And our main weapon ability is Snipe. So here, when I snipe, it's going to put that little volcano off to the left, and it's going to hit them. And there's an 8-second cooldown. So the reason why we like this is because it's an easy proc condition. Like, I know every time I hit my snipe, it's going to proc it. That lets me know when to throw my javelin to stun them into it, if that makes sense. So the goal is to try to use a proc set where you can predict when it's going to hit them. So I'll try to stun them into this proc and the blast bones at the same time, and it's a lot more burst than Swamp Raiders, and in my tests parsing, it's about the same DPS as Swamp Raiders. I didn't have the Scavenging Maw bow. I just had the body pieces, so I didn't want to. The way I had to set this up, I needed the bow because Rallying Cry is a light armor set, and I wanted to backbar it. So I wasn't able to test Scavenging Demise. The only issue with Scavenging Demise, it'll hit the target you want it to hit, but it procs off of crit, and you can't get a guaranteed crit out of stealth like you can on a Nightblade. So Scavenging Demise is going to be harder to consistently get it to go off when you want. Red Mountain's going to be hard for you to get. You can consistently get it to go off when you want, but it's not always going to hit the person you want. So it's kind of pick your poison. Scavenging Demise would also be a great option to run on this. I just didn't have time to farm the bow and test it. I might do that later. Order's Wrath is another set you could run, but like I said, when I was testing and parsing, Swamp Raiders did more DPS than Order's Wrath, even considering the fact that Swamp Raiders only boosts Snipe and Blast Bones. The other thing about Order's Wrath is S tier if you have it on the body. It's only A tier if you have it on the front bar, and that is because it boosts your crit damage and healing, and most people run heals on the back bar, so you're not getting the full benefit of the set if you run it on the front bar. A lot of times, the way I try to time it, and it's pretty simple, is you can charge up a Blast Bones and get a full snipe off before the snipe hits the target, and then you can throw the javelin, causing them to be stunned into the Blast Bones, and your burst will kind of all hit at once. So let's see if we have gameplay showcasing that here. Blast Bones, charge up the snipe, immediately throw the javelin, and do you see how I can kind of animation cancel that javelin at the end? So you'll see me in the footage, sometimes I throw the javelin even when they're on CC immunity, and it's just because it gives you extra burst damage. So I get the snipe off, and then I immediately animation cancel with the javelin. Even if they can't be stunned, it hits pretty hard because it ignores their resistances, and it's a good way to just keep up pressure if you just kind of constantly weave your javelin after I would say every other snipe ability. So it'll be like, my rotation will be, blast bones, light attack, snipe, into the javelin, light attack, snipe, and then I'll reset and do the same combo again. Now, if you're dropping the meteor, you won't have time to get the snipe off before everything lands, so the comet will land after before your javelin hits, which isn't ideal. So if you're throwing the meteor into the comet, the plague brick setup, by the way, is if you're trying to get bombs with your blast bones and your meteor, and I do have some clips of me attempting that. I would actually run Mage's Wrath if you're running the Plague Brick setup, because all you need to do is see someone low, throw your execute on them, and get the kill. I almost forgot to upload CP. I never put CP, famously, on my videos. I've been using Ironclad Duelist Rebuff. There's a lot of direct damage right now. Focus Mending will increase your heals, and then this increases, again, into that crit damage and crit healing. So we're mostly defensive with the blue CP. Obviously, feel free to slot other CP if you want to. And then I've just been using Celerity, Pain's Refuge, Sustained by Suffering, and Fortified. You could switch out Celerity for Rejuvenation, because honestly, we have a lot of movement speed. So if you're suffering with Sustain, go ahead and use Celerity instead. But that's the video, guys. Thanks for watching.
I don't even understand how the fuck my plug talk. Won't pick him up in a space coupe. I don't let my plug walk. Skirt full up in a space. New freak had to cut my other little